our focus is on our special guest. We are really honored to have a guest speaker who is so highly appreciated, not only in the Arab world, but also really well known in US. Haytham Nawar researches quite a lot, and the focus is on design history, multi-scriptural design, type design and typography, and always with the focus on the Arab world and Africa as well. He frequently publishes, and he has become a groundbreaking author with his standard literature in the field of Arabic design, the history of Arabic graphic design, if I remember well.
And thank you for really the introduction. It's like more than what I gave. And happy here to be sharing some of my research and with the students and with actually our audience in general. And as we discussed together, so we had the discussion of like what I can offer today. And there's the talk today will be divided in two parts, which one is just an experience that I wanted to share with students, because since we have students from Germany and from Indonesia, so it's good to look at multi-scriptural or multilingual design. And the second part, which is, I mean, that's the interest of Susanna, and actually my interest as well in terms of research and practice is Arabic typography and Arabic type design. So I will give a little bit of introduction about the Arabic script and its origins, where it comes from, and then historical evolution of the Arabic script, and until the designs of nowadays about Arabic type design and the most established type designer and type design foundries in the Arab world. So again, as I mentioned, that I will just give a brief about multilingualism in design, which is something that really personally I'm very interested in. And I did several workshops in different countries that actually use different scripts in the everyday language communication. So as you know, that there is different languages in the world and different scripts and writing systems. So they come not necessarily they come from the same origin. So there are plenty of origins. Some of them, like to be more accurate, there's more than 5,000 languages around the world. And of course, we don't know all of them. Some of them they're still living and used, and some others they are actually dying. And here I will show you diversity, at least from the shape and how it looked like different writing systems. So we have here, because I mentioned that I will go through the Armenian experience, we have here the Armenian language. And you can see the alphabet, the Armenian alphabet, and try to bear visually how it looked like. And this is just very basic about how it looked like, the Armenian script. And then, of course, the Arabic, which I think some of you already know how it looked like, the Arabic alphabet of nowadays, because also I will show you the development of Arabic script through the years. And then you have the Cyrillic, which mostly using in Cyrillic script countries like Russian, Ukrainian, Serbian. And again, you see the shape, how it changes. And Cyrillic, it comes also from the Greek origin, which is a different writing system. So this is a comparison of a text box from Latin, Cyrillic, Armenian, and Arabic. So you can see actually the differences in terms of design, how they look like, the typesetting, how they look like, but also you can see the direction of writing, since we know that Arabic comes from right to left, not like other language that they come from left to right. And for sure, there is also they come from top to bottom. So multilingualism in our multilingual design engine, this is some terminology that mostly use, that you can find it nowadays. There's some as like globalism, of the idea of we live in this global world, a global citizen, travel, and that it's much easier now than it used to be before. We have the virtual or space that we are actually using online communication. So the word globalism, it's actually much more used now, and it's actually one of the things that any designer of nowadays need to be considering. And then you move to multiculturalism, that because of the migration and immigration around the world. So you have actually the next point is the melting pot of expressions. When people, they come from different culture, they live together, and then it's not any more inclusive what is culture. So culture, like we live in a world of multiculturalism. And then still, even if we have a melting pot, but still there is something called diversity. So we are same, but at the same time we are different. So you have actually diversity, and in terms of what we are discussing today is actually the language diversity. So even if we live in one big world, one community, but still there is a variation of language, the variation of culture, and that creates this our individuality and diversity at the same time. And then we move to designing for a global world. So when we communicate with different diverse of cultures, but in one design, and here it comes what we call nowadays a multilingual design. So here are some samples from different scripts that I actually collected a long time ago. So this is some, I will just go very quickly so you can have an idea how the two different scripts completely come from a different background, like different lingual and also writing system background could work together. So as you know, in Hong Kong, it's a bilingual country. And you can see here one of the designs for the Bi-City Berlinale at it's a festival, and you see the Chinese script with Latin script and how the design goes in some of the printed stuff, some of the publications that you can see how they can work together. Another case with Cyrillic and Latin, you can have in the Moscow metro pocket map, but also the whole communication about the Moscow metro. You can find it in Cyrillic and in Latin. This is from our friends EPES 51. It's a studio. And now I will jump to the Arabic script, which is, again, as I mentioned before, it's my area. And the Arabic script, I will go a little bit historically speaking and showing you how it started, but then I will show you some of the Arabic typefaces. So let's talk first about the Arabic alphabet and how it's the individuality of Arabic alphabet. Anyone of the attendees have previous knowledge about Arabic? You can just raise your hand or no? I don't see any hands. Okay, only one hand. Okay, so I mean, again, I will give a little bit of a brief about the language itself. So the Arabic letter variation. So how different Arabic letters than other languages. So every letter from the Arabic script have its own variation. So you have always an initial, a medium, a final, isolation. It's the same letter, but because actually it is, when you write Arabic, it's actually all connected. They are not separated like in Latin, like in Russian, Cyrillic, like in Armenian. They need to be connected. So because of the connection, there are joint letters. There is always a variation of the letter. So you have actually letter that can, like the letter Aleph, which is one of the much easiest one, but let's jump to the B. See here, when it start from, and I always consider it from right to left. That is always, there is always a shape of initial, a medium, a final, and isolate. So once you have like a handwriting or even designing a typeface, you need to consider always that you will have a 4 variation of the letter. And sometimes actually in letters like Hamza or Te Marbuta, you have actually more than 4 variation of the letters. Things also to know about the Arabic language, that you have the Hamza that I just mentioned, which is this small, tiny shape that have its way actually in when it's written in top, like similarly in Aleph, could be written that way, or with the 4 variation of Aleph, but also the Waw, with also the 4 variation of the Waw. That's the way how the Hamza could be written. Then you have always the vowels, because the way how you pronounce and read the word, that change completely the meaning of the word. So this is a way how you see the vowels, which again written in top of the words or in the bottom of the words, as you can see actually in the text actually here. So the way how you see the vowels, it changed completely the way how you pronounce it, and accordingly change the way how you understand the word. And then there is the Arabic language ligatures, which when you are trying to connect some letters together. So this is Lam, Mim, Ha. Those are ligature of 3 letters together. This is the Ain, Ha, a ligature of 2 letters together. Lam, Alif, a ligature of 2 letters together. Actually, you can create an endless variation of ligatures in the Arabic language. So there are some basics ones that most of the type designers, they are using them when designing type, but also from a calligraphic background, there is actually an endless variation of ligatures in Arabic, and there is only one coding approach by Decotype, and I will show you some of their work in the end. They actually tried to code all variation of Arabic ligatures based on the Quranic script, which they use it as a visual reference at that time, not really content speaking. So, and when we talk about the origins of the language, the Arabic language itself, it comes from a very old pre-Sinaitic script, which is in the part of the Sinai island in Egypt, which the connection between Afro-Asian roots of languages. So you can see early scripts and how it looked like and how it developed visually from the Phoenician time, the Palestinian, the Aramaic, Hebrew, Syriac, South Arabians, and the Arabic one that you see, which developed from the Eastern Arabian. So just, I mean, again, this is a very visual, historical overview, so you can really learn more about the language itself. So the one to the top right, this is the Syriac, which was actually a development of how Aramaic, which is the language of the Christ, how it was written before. So that's a development of how it looked like. This is the South Arabian inscriptions, this is the part where the Arab Peninsula, that you can see now, Saudi Arabia and whole Arab, like the Gulf state countries, and then you have in the south, it's Yemen. So that actually the South Arabian inscription, that was the way how Arabic was written in Yemen in the early times. And here actually I mentioned the Aramaic, which is the language of the Christ, that you can see visually how they are in the same family. And then I would just move forward to have the development of the shape of Arabic. So all what you can actually see on the screen, they are the language how visually was rooted to be evolved, that you can see how the Arabic of nowadays comes from. So the Nabatean, I mentioned that the Southern Arabic, this is the that I mentioned in this one, the South Arabian inscription, and then here the Eastern Arabian inscription, which they called actually the Nabatean, which is the part of the north of the Arab Peninsula, which is Jordan and part of the south of Lebanon and Syria. And this is how it was looking like, very basic little, actually are inscriptions on tombstones, and we're talking here about 250 years before Christ. And then here there is the Aramaic inscription, very early basic way of writing again. And here's a different inscription that show you the development. And here takes shape when I normally I divide it between like pre-Islamic and post-Islamic. So the language exists before and the way how it's written before Islam, but then when Islam came, the language evolved because of the spread of Islam. So you can actually see how it's, again, early inscription, later showing the cursive writing, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Muhammad Rasulullah. So this is really very basic way of writing Arabic early at that time. And they're all actually carved on stones. That was the only way of writing in the Arab Peninsula at that time. Here, this what we call it nowadays language is graffiti, because that was actually drawing on stones. And again, that people at, again, 625 CE, that when you see people starting again inscripting words, sentences, again, Islamic content on the stones. So here again, inscription from different places in the Arab world, in Iraq, in Saudi Arabia, and in Egypt. This is very early way of how it was written, Islamic text or Arabic Islamic text. So there is, when we divide the way how Arabic evolved and how the way how it was written, there is two different directions. One is what we call angular script, if you are familiar with the Kufic. So that's where comes the angular script, and then cursive script. And if you are familiar with the Naskh, that you see the, which mostly the language, how Quran written in manuscripts, that's what we'll talk about it later. So angular script is the early archaic form of Kufic. So you can see from to the left to the right, that's also from the 8th century, the Qayrawani Kufic. No dots, no vocalization, what we call tashkil, and it's just only the basic letters of that was Quran. That was the way how people write it at that time in the 8th century. And then later on, that they tried to do the vocalization, that to help people to pronounce it the right way, and they used the dots to help in the vocal. And then the dots itself to distinguish the letters, that was added later in the 9th century, and you can see some of the samples here. And here's actually the variation of how Kufic was developed. So you have the Eastern Kufic, you can see in the top left, and this is developed in Persia. And then you have again another variation of the Eastern Kufic script, and also in Persia, but it's in the 11th century, and so like 100 years in between. But you can see the development of the shape, how it looked like, the elongation of the letters, how they added the vocalization, and so on. And here, that's a sample of the Western Kufic, the Qayrawani, and as you can see to the right side, which is so the Eastern was developed in Iran, and which is now, it was Persia at that time, and the Western was the more developed on North Africa in Maghreb, which is nowadays is Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, and Libya. So this is a different variation, what I just mentioned, the Maghribi script, and in different periods, and you can see how it's developed from what you can see here to here, and this is all in Morocco, and this is taken from manuscripts. So we saw a little bit about the Kufic. Now we go to the cursive, and which is more linear. And the cursive writing, and that's how again the Naskh writing, for the ones they know a little bit about the naming of the calligraphic style in Arabic. So the Naskh mostly is the style where Quran was written. So in terms of manuscripts, not carved in stones, not in architecture elements, but mostly in the way how it's written by handwriting. That's why it's called Naskh, which means copying. So here again, I would go quickly with how it's developed visually. So you have here Ibn Muqla, one of the scientists and the scholars that developed a lot the way how Arabic language of nowadays written. And here you can see basically how it's developed visually without any dots, without any vocalization, and to jump to this, when you see how the calligraphic strokes was developed from this basic writing and to what we can see nowadays with its own statics. So to top left, you can see how Arabic writing is actually using directional. So the way how you write, you cannot write from any dialect. So you have always to write, as you know, from right to left, but also when you write, let's say the letter Ain, so you have always to go from top left and you go around and then you go down. And the way how it's written that way, because in Arabic calligraphers, they use the bamboo, so and it's sharp bamboo, so that you can normally, when you are using it, when you come to the curve, it goes thinner, but when you go just a straight line, it goes very bold. So this is just to show you a little bit how directions, this is only one letter Ain, this is one letter He. So, and Ain and Ha, you see how actually the direction, because you need to learn the direction, because if you master the direction, you write it the right way how it is. If you write it from top to bottom or from left to right, even if you try to make a consistency in the shape, it will change completely. So, and here it gives you again a variation from different calligraphers. They're using Naskh, like the cursive writing, to have like this is the same letter Ba. So how it actually written different ways, the same letter ha, and this is a variation how it's differently written, and that's just only letters. But here it's Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, which is in the name of Allah, the merciful, the magnificent, the magnificent, the merciful. And you can see the variation, how different calligraphers, they have their own interpretation. The name of the calligraphers are actually in the right down, but how a variation of how they write the same sentence. So if it's not clear to you, you will have very tiny little variation. For example, the alif and the positioning of alif, how it's different, the size of Allah, the lam, lam, ha, between all of them. Again, you see how the word Ar-Rahman contains Ar-Rahim. So there are very slight differences between calligraphers, but that show you how diverse and the amount of variation of letters that could be done. So there is actually what also we call the golden age of Arabic calligraphy, when actually the language have its own modules. Again, I mentioned Ibn Muqla, that one of that tried to standardize the way how Arabic calligraphy styles to be done. So it started to create what we call a modular that we can actually use when we are writing Arabic letters. So this is one of the modular. It's actually the circle modular. So we have his own analysis, one circle, one size, and he tried to create a measure that could be used among calligraphers. So cursive scripts in general is what we call cursive script. There is 6 pens, which they come again from the flute, but they are completely different how they look like. But they are all linear and smooth and soft way of writing. So the 6 pens are actually the naskh, the thuluth, the muhaqqaq, the al-tawiqi, and al-riqa al-rihani. Those are the 6 pens. And here you can see the naskh script that's sampled by famous calligrapher and also artist Hassan Masoudi. So you can see how he make the whole measurement of the full alphabet and the variation of writing it. And here thuluth, so the same family, but it's again doing the measure for the thuluth. I mentioned first is the naskh, second is the thuluth, so that's the thuluth. It's more actually elongation, which gives a little bit of dynamic of the way how it look like. And this is another sample of al-Tawqi style. And then you have here down al-Muhaqqaq style. And there is some foreign influences to the cursive way of writing. Foreign, what I mean by foreign, that they actually borrow it from different languages, not Arabic. So you hear that comes from the Ottoman. That's developed a little bit of the name of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And you can hear the Tughra, which was that's also another Ottoman influence into Riqa and Diwani. And Tughra is the way how the sultans, they used to sign the documents, the names. It's called Tughra. That's the way. So every Khalifa or a sultan, he commissioned a calligrapher to design a signature. At that time, it's called actually Tughra. And you can see here the Riqa style in the top, the Diwani style, and Diwani al-Jalay, which is more decorative version of the one you can see in the top of Diwani. And here's again the variation and the measurements of the Riqa style, the variation and the measurements of the Diwani style, and the Ta'liq. Ta'liq is actually was developed in one particular area in Persia, which is nowadays Iran. And Ta'liq, it means like the hanged, and that's the literal translation, because actually you can see it's stretched to the top as you are actually hanging the letter. So you call it Ta'liq as it's hanged. And then later on they have the development of combination between the Ta'liq, and I was just mentioning the naskh, the copying, so it becomes together naskh Ta'liq, which is one of the very famous developed calligraphic styles in Persia, in Iran. And this is actually some of the samples of the naskh Ta'liq manuscripts. Again, here And last from Persia is the Shikatsey, which is again another developed calligraphic style in Iran only. Of course, not just only the Arab world or the extension of the Arab world or the Middle East, but also there is a lot of developed Arabic typefaces for all areas where Islam went. So in Africa, so in I would say Central Africa and West Africa, there is variation of Arabic script as well. So here actually what we call it the Sudanese script, which basically actually was in Central Africa like Sudan, and it was also extended to Nigeria. And you can have also some others in Ghana. So this is again a variation of Arabic script for all areas where Islam went. This is also some of more decorative calligraphy, which is also different ways when you can actually have Arabic calligraphy in the shape of an animal or a human. There's something also what we call a calligram, which is looks like a logo nowadays, which is you can actually have names, and that we're mostly using. This one was used in Turkey in the Ottoman Empire. This one was used in North Africa in Tunisia. So quickly, I will give you for more of like the numerals and that how numbers were developed in the Arab world. So here you can see the origins where they come the first numbering like numeral systems from China and from India and from the Indies, and this earlier, and then it moved to different ways of writing numbers in the Arab world. There was always the eastern part, and there is the North Africa, which is the western part. So the eastern part, this is the way how the 9th and 10th and 11th century, how the numbers were developed until what we know current numbers in Arabic. It's used among the whole Arab world, but actually coming from the Eastern Arabic numerals. And then you have the North African Arabic numerals, which is completely different, which mostly the Latin of nowadays. And that was actually developed in North Africa. If you see the development from the 9th, 11th, and 13th century until it comes of nowadays in the Latin numerals. So that was actually developed of the Arabic of North Africa, but it becomes now the Latin. And we only in the Arab world using now actually the Eastern Arabic numerals. So that's again a historical overview of the evolution of the Arabic writing, and then you can see how it's developed after Islam to the calligraphic styles and schools, and then there is in the modern time, which I'm talking about the last 100 years, there is a lot of approaches or proposals of actually changing the way or modernizing the way how Arabic to be written. So those actually some historical approaches of people, they try to simplify the way how Arabic is written. Some of them, they were the purpose actually that they wanted to simplify it for children so they can actually learn it easier, because when it's joined, like connected together, it's very difficult to learn for somebody like really young in age to connect. It's complicated. So they try to split the Arabic letters and make it more like Latin. And some other, they created these methods that they can actually do it for non-Arabic speakers, so that might be much easier for them to learn Arabic if it's actually also separated. So this is some approaches in different Arab countries in 1948, in that again, to break it into a grid and separate the letters together, not to be connected, but still could be legible to read. And then another proposal to the right side, here you can see also separating the letters, but also create less variation of the letters. If you remember from the beginning, we have some 4 variation for every Arabic letters, but also some 5 variation. But so they try to do 1 variation of every letter so people can actually easily learn and read. And this is again another approach to simplify the way Arabic is written. So this is different approaches from all Arab countries, some in Egypt, some in Morocco, some in Lebanon, to simplify and make an easy grid that you can actually learn and use. So some of them were actually used and applied in some of the graphic design in Iraq and in Lebanon, such as the one to the bottom, like Nasri Khattar, that was already applied, and also a typewriter company. They sponsor it. And actually, recently, one of the very famous Lebanese type designers, Pascal Zourbi, he actually digitalized and created a font out of Nasri Khattar experience. There is others, but just again to give you an overview. So that's quickly about Arabic type, and allow me to share with you very quick. I know we are actually running out of time, so very quick the where we are now in terms of type design. So I choose few samples of type designers, and can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so
no,
we
are
can
there
see.
more examples, more design examples?
Yeah, you cannot see it, right?
No, we cannot see.
Then I stop share, and then I will share again. Let me share this. Can you see now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so here I show you some of the type designers of nowadays and design foundries and some of the application. So you saw how historically it was evolved. Let me show you how it looked like now, the Arabic type design. So I will start with one of the Egyptian type designers, Muhammad Gabir. He lives now actually in Amsterdam. You have a cave type foundry. Some of his typefaces, this is Khat al-Misiri. It's very, again, based on the cursive. It's used actually for headlines and body text. And here, Lemonade, that's another typeface design, also by Muhammad. He's also have a variation of how it looked like, and could be used also in headlines and body text. Cairo, one of the most popular typefaces, actually using for a screen, like mostly people use it in web. And that's, again, mostly for body text. And we're just mentioning actually Pascal Zourbi, he's Lebanese. He lives now in Barcelona in Spain. And Pascal have a foundry, it's called 29 Letters Foundry. And Pascal have a diverse of Arabic type faces design. So this is Bukra, just tomorrow, one of the, with a lot of variation from also body text and headlines. This is some of the application of Bukra typeface from Pascal. Designs here, one of the very nice based on the Naskh, it's called Azir. Azir typeface is also a bilingual typeface, but also have its own, as if you remember the beginning of my presentation about the keeping the aesthetics, like the characteristics of the Arabic letters. And you can see here the matching together in Latin and Arabic, but still there is individuality. This is some of the applications from Azir typeface. That's even one also very elegant, sharp. It's called Khat Zain, and Zain, it means actually beautiful in Arabic word. And again, it's a nice Naskh base for actually being used for headlines, and it's also bilingual. Some of the applications of Zain. Kufi typeface, which is again with a lot of variation and ligatures from Arabic typeface. And then there is also Khajak Apelian. Khajak is an Armenian Lebanese designer. So you can see some of his design. They have actually his company, Graphic with K, which is actually also the name of the typeface itself, Graphic Typeface. And that's a combination. The work, one of the typefaces was between Khajak and Wa'il together. And this is some of the application. Brando Arabic. It's actually for more vernacular pop designs that you can use it for posters, headlines. And this is the application of Brando. And there is Lyon, another Naskh-based typeface. And also the design for IBM, the new Arabic typeface for IBM. And there is also Lebanese Christian Sarkis. He also lives in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, and he worked with Peter Bilak, one of the also famous type designers that they created together, Tibutek. It's an Arabic type design foundry, and Hoda some of the designs like Mizan, which means balance. Colvert. Those are actually bilingual. Some of the applications, some of digital applications, which they use actually that's Canon. It's another one that's used for signage and also applications with a lot of variation. Greta typeface. Louvre, Abu Dhabi, the museum. Lara Kaptan, she's Lebanese. She lives also in Amsterdam. The Falak typeface based on Naskh for body text. Then also Manal Aql, one of the very young type designers. So you have Maha. And Maha, she's a Moroccan, lives in Casablanca. She's very much inspired by the Maghribi, Kufic Maghribi style. So that's typefaces based on that. Nadine Shaheen, she's Lebanese, lives in London. She actually worked for most of the big foundries, and she designed the Arabic variation of what I mentioned to you before, Universe, DIN, then Frutiger. She is the one designed those, and this is some of her designs. And Tarek Atrisi, he is also Lebanese, lives in Barcelona. So this is some of his work. This is the handwritten Arabic. It's also for Mathaf Museum in Doha, Qatar. Some for newspapers, Al Ghad, which is tomorrow. And lastly, this is a project that I work with a colleague, Ghalia Sarabi. It's actually based on, we work with students that to transfer old street signage and shop signs in the streets of Cairo to an open source typefaces. So we created 6 typefaces, the one you see in the right, Kebab, Nefertari, Mittelbot, Rita, Safwat, Suleiman, and then we'd have actually some of the applications of them. Those were students' work. And lastly, foundations or foundries, the Khat Foundation, which they actually more specialize in Arabic typography, Arabic designer. Those some of the book published. This is the Nasri Khattar, I mentioned about him, with the typefaces. This is pioneer Arab designers like Adi Al-Azari, Abdul Qadir Arnaud. This is some of the workshops that conducted by Khat Foundation. And then lastly, the Decotype, the one they programmed the whole variation of Arabic ligatures and actually based on the Quranic script as a reference. So this is some of the analysis of how they created this data. It's a whole programming job. And that's it. Thank you so much for that. I know it was too long, but I hope that was useful for you.
Thank you so much, Haytham, for sharing your historical expertise in a compact version, especially for the students. And I really enjoyed to see such fresh and current insights in the Arab world, but not only that, you had so many examples from all over the world using Arabic script.
Yes, I can see the chat box.
I started to read the first one and I tried to summarize it. I think the question, Teddy's question was, if when we tweak the Arabic historical type and make it more modern, would that offend someone, the creator, for example?
I would say not really offend, but it's actually, you lose something from the way how you write the language. So as I mentioned before, there is every language or every writing system have its own characteristics, have its own aesthetics. So when you actually you create a design, you need always to keep in mind the aesthetics, the characteristics, not to lose the beauty of the letter, but also not to go extreme and you lose the functionality. So you cannot read it anymore.
Yeah, very clear. Thank you. And there are so many more, so let's go to the second, and then I would like to go to one contribution that is not from the students, but from a colleague, I think. Okay, so the next one is, when working with multiple script, how can one find the right balance between a harmonious design while still respecting the original shapes and the legibility, I think, as well? Are there strategies? on how to approach this challenge. Yeah.
No, but it's again the part of, like I mentioned at the beginning, there's some things that you need to keep in mind that very basic in terms of like the hierarchy, the weight, the directions. Those stuff will keep you always aware of like making the harmony. So I can share with you actually later on some of my notes about the subject. So that could be like the presentation, the first part of the presentation about the multilingual script. I can share it with Susanna, and then she can share it with you. You will find very small tips that could help you in doing actually that.
Thanks a lot for that. Oh, there is a new, no. So let's go back. In the context of designing multilingual fonts, how can designers ensure that their font designs are accessible to communities that may have limited access to technology, and how can they design for languages that are spoken by marginalized or underrepresented groups?
Well, that's a very interesting, I don't know, that's a very interesting question. And by the way, most of the type designers, at least the one I mentioned now, some of them, even they live only from type design, but some of them, if you like students or somebody really want to use them in non-commercial use, like for cultural reasons or any initiative, if they write them, drop them a simple email like, Pascal, I would like to use this for this project, for this initiative, they send you the typeface for free. They don't really charge you money for that. But the last part of your question, which is really important to how it can be used by marginalized communities, this is, I think it's not a role of an individual designer, but it's actually a role of institutions. So there is a lot of artists, they did actually workshops with communities, and they shared the way how people can actually use type designs in rural areas. For example, in Egypt, I know in Jordan, in Syria, there's a lot of type designers. They went to the streets, they met people, they communicate with them the messages of the shops and the places, and they try to work with them, work together to create not necessarily a complete typeface, but actually like a lettering style, or just only to enhance the way how actually they use the shop signs, the easy everyday print material and stuff like that. So there is ways that might really work, but it needs to have like one is institutional, if they can actually sponsor that, but also that could be communal, like community-based initiatives that designers can work together, and they can go to the places and they try to communicate what is designed, like designing a typeface, they apply it, they help them. And of course, that would be without charging them money.
Haytham, it has been a great honor to have you with us. Thank you so much. And I wish we could have once again a workshop, and who knows, that would be really fun, and maybe with Indonesians together. And yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, please give Haytham a warm applause. And this has been really wonderful and special for us today.